Go ahead.
Sir, this next order relates to the definition of birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment of the United States.
Yeah, that's a good one. Birthright. That's a big one.
What about that one in the courts? That one is likely to be challenged.
Could be. We think we have good grounds, but you could be right. I mean, you'll find out. It's ridiculous. We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. But, you know, we'll see. We think we have very good grounds.
Sir,
People have wanted to do this for decades.
Attorneys generals from 22 states, including New York and New Jersey, have filed a lawsuit to block President Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship.
All right, they say it's settled law and the president does not have the power to override it.
It's already drawing heavy fire from leaders across the country. In the city, the mayor is now confirming talks are underway with ICE to deport criminal migrants. With a stroke of his pen, President Donald Trump ordered an end to a right guaranteed by the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. It's called birthright citizenship. Reaction was fast and furious from a group of 22 Democratic state attorneys who pledged to fight the move, calling it unconstitutional. They filed a lawsuit against the president and his administration, seeking an injunction to stop the order, which is scheduled to go into effect next month.
Birthright citizenship is a major driver of illegal immigration. I know I've done this over 3 decades. One of the first things an illegal alien does when they get here is get birth to a U.S. citizen child, because I think that makes him immune from our laws, right? So even if he goes to immigration court and loses his case, even though he's in the country illegally, he's convicted of a crime and gets to order removal, they think that the fact to have a U.S. citizen child would make him immune. We can't send that message to the whole world that you can enter our country illegally, which is a crime, you commit another crime, and you can even get removed by an immigration judge after expensive due process. But if you have a U.S. citizen child, you're off the hook. We can't send that message. We'll never fix the border.
Right, but the 14th Amendment does not differentiate between somebody who's in this country legally or illegally.
But I'm not an attorney, but I don't think the 14th Amendment enshrines that at all. We have just as many legal scholars, constitutional scholars, it doesn't really say that. So what President Trump is taking that action, we'll let Supreme Court decide that.
Well, it's definitely going to go to the Supreme Court. I don't think there's any question of that.
The good old birthright citizenship. These lawsuits shouldn't surprise you. We all know that we have plenty of anti-American judges, anti-American politicians. But now we do have a pro-American president fighting the good battle. All of us know that a lot of these migrants would never have come here if it wasn't for all of the benefits the previous stupid government provided to them. And that includes the birthright citizenship. So let the legal drama begin. Now, speaking of legal drama, I now have another migrant that wants to sue me. Please meet again, Venezuelan migrant, or who I now call the migrant birthright citizenship queen, Diana Da Silva. If you recall, this is the migrant that was born and raised in Venezuela. From there, she lived in Ecuador. Then she lived in Colombia. And then she made it through the Darien Gap, crossing all of those countries, and then came to America. But I did want to make a correction because I previously stated that she entered the US via the CBP-1 scam app. Turns out I was wrong, guys. She entered the country illegally. Yep, she is another border crosser. But as usual, you don't have to take my word for it. She told us that herself. When she was first featured on the Vega Axis channel, she was still pregnant. But now she has given birth and she sent me a message.
Yo sabía que había un chisme por ahí, algo, porque yo subí una foto del 24, del 31, yo subí unas fotos del 31 y había mucha gente metiéndose en esa foto. Las fotos llegaron como a 100,000 vistas y yo digo, ¿por qué? Si esas son unas simples fotos. Y entonces, a ver algo. Y yo dije, cuando ustedes me vean en algún video o algo por ahí, díganme, porque yo sé que es alguien que habló algo de mí. Algo, no sé qué, pero sé que hablaron algo de mí porque la gente empezó a buscarme. La verdad, yo no tengo problemas con inmigración. Él pudo reportarme las veces que le dio la gana. Si él me reportó o si él dice que me va a reportar, no sé. Al contrario, mira, puedo buscar mis papeles ahora mismo. De hecho, los voy a buscar y espero que graben esto y lo suban en sus videos y tal. Me etiquetan, yo lo reposteo para que le llegue a él. Ya va, voy a buscar mis papeles. Ay, tuve que venirme porque el bebé comenzó a llorar. Pero yo voy a hacer un video yo en particular. Y lo voy a subir, ¿verdad? Y lo voy a subir mostrando mis papeles. O sea, obviamente yo no soy ciudadana, yo no soy residente, pero yo estoy aquí legalmente. Yo, aparte de que introduje mi asilo, también yo tengo mi TPS aprobado. El TPS no se lo aprueban a criminales ni a personas que estén haciendo las cosas mal, ¿ya me entiendes? Entonces, él puede llamar y reportarme con quien él quiera, porque realmente yo estoy legal en este país, o sea, yo no estoy aquí ni escondida, ni estoy haciendo nada malo. Todo lo que yo cuento en mi perfil son historias que me mandan otra persona, relativamente es un personaje, no soy yo. O sea, él puede decir lo que quiera y agentes de inmigración pueden ver y traducir mi video y ver que primero no incito a nadie a hacer cosas malas. Al contrario, yo siempre estoy hablando de que no deben de cruzar ilegalmente, siempre estoy dando consejos para que hagan las cosas de buena manera. Claro que viví en otros países y recientemente pues yo respondí mi carta de UCI porque cuando yo metí el TPS a mí me preguntaron que dónde yo viví, que por qué no me quedé allá, y yo tengo denuncias de por qué yo no me quedé en Ecuador. Yo viví en Ecuador, sí viví, mi hijo es ecuatoriano y yo tengo denuncias. ¿Qué fue, mi amor? Ya tienes hambrita. Y yo tengo denuncias de por qué yo no me quedé en Ecuador.
Well, that video of her showing the papers never came. And I never said she was hiding, but I must admit, she's pretty good. She almost had me there when she said, I've never done anything wrong. Well, I guess if you record yourself freeloading of America, it's not bad. That's very positive indeed. Never mind crossing the border illegally into the United States and telling everyone about it. You see, the problem with a lot of these migrants is that they believe that just because Joe Biden allowed them to get TPS and apply for asylum without any real amount of evidence, they can just do and say whatever the hell they want without any real consequence. If I were to cross the border illegally into the United States, the last thing I would do is record myself doing it and forget about telling anyone that I did it. That doesn't even make sense. And I would never, ever record myself receiving any type of benefit because I'll be embarrassed about it. You see, I have some decency. That's all we're asking migrants, for you to have some form of decency. And here's when she threatened to sue me.
Yo considero que si a mí me da la gana, yo puedo hablar con mis abogados que yo tengo porque obviamente pago abogados, pago impuestos, pago todo aquí en este país. Y yo puedo abrir un caso con ese tipo por acoso, qué sé yo. Pero yo voy a ver el video, lo voy a guardar antes que lo borre y voy a hablar con las personas que llevan mis casos de inmigración y toda la cosa. Vega Axis. De un tipo que está reportando y que gente en YouTube con inmigración. Gente que hace contenido, pero yo digo que ¿por qué no reporta a la gente? ¿Por qué no reporta a la gente que está haciendo las cosas mal? Que viven en una pelea, que no sé qué más. A mí, que yo ni siquiera tengo nada que ver, no me meto con nadie. Hago mi contenido porque son historias que me mandan y es lo que, o sea, me genera pues plática que te topa en este país, que tengo mis hijos pequeños. Dinero que utilizo para pagar impuestos y dinero que utilizo para vivir aquí, pues ya voy a ver. Ya vuelvo, yo voy a volver con la información de ese video.
Right. So she threatened to sue me. She threatened to sue an American citizen for exercising his right to freedom of speech. And then she played the victim card. Right now, she's a taxpayer. She's a mom, of course, putting the kids as shields. We know that a lot of them do that. But I think since she is doing a lot of news on this birthright citizenship topic, I'll show you those videos, by the way, in a little bit. She should do further research and maybe Google, hey, is crossing the border into the United States illegally a crime? And the answer would be yes, Diana. That is indeed a federal crime. You have committed a federal crime. And here's the best part. We would have never known if you wouldn't have told us that you did. Furthermore, unfortunately and sadly, Diana over here had a miscarriage when crossing through the Darien Gap. So if anything, she should sue herself first for doing something so stupid. Oh yeah, it is stupid. Remember, she told us the reason why they came to America the way they did is because her husband came up with the idea that all of South America was dangerous. Let's watch.
Pues toda la inseguridad que había o hay todavía en Ecuador, él se le ocurrió la idea de que todos los países ya de allá de Sudamérica estaban bien peligrosos y hay mucha violencia y eso. Y me dijo, bueno, para salir huyendo de una violencia de un país y estar en otro donde quizás podamos correr violencia también, vamos a huir a Estados Unidos porque allá estoy seguro de que las cosas serán diferentes.
Can you believe it? He just came up with the idea that everyone, everything, and everywhere was dangerous, except the United States. Hey, Diana, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. And yes, you and your husband have been reported to USCIS officials by the Vega Axis channel for crossing the border illegally into the United States and for living in multiple countries without seeking proper asylum first. Of course, these are for alleged claims made by mainly your own content. And we're not talking about the Migrant Chronicles because she tells stories from her followers that are mostly migrants. We're not talking about that. We're talking about your own content, your story. So don't get it mixed up over here. So immigration officials should investigate this further because it sends the wrong message to a lot of immigrants that want to come into this country the right way. And that reminds me that I have a very important announcement to make in regards to a lot of these migrants who continue to attack me and my channels. And I'll be announcing that at the end of this video. Needless to say, I'm a Venezuelan migrant who gave birth in Venezuela. Then I gave birth in Ecuador. And then I had an unfortunate event in Panama. But I eventually had another child in the United States. I've recorded myself taking advantage of the system in various ways, from crossing the border illegally to food banks, USPS Operation Santa, and even birthright citizenship. What a disgrace. Let's get started. We also have some very important current event updates that we'll get to right after we go over some of Diana Da Silva's videos, the Migrant Birthright Citizenship Queen. So this video is from an interview she did in regards to her story and how and why she came to the US. So she's describing how the trip was horrible and they were crying. They stopped multiple times, and how they decided to come to the US when they were in Ecuador. And it was due to the insecurity, right? She mentioned that before, about how dangerous it was, according to her. Well, so that's just a small clip about the reasons and how she came through the jungle, or what they experienced, which she claims it was not a good experience. something that was very challenging for her and her family. But here is where things get very serious. She is going to describe how the Darien jungle took away one of her kids. That's what it says in the caption. This was a 4-part video, but I'm going to summarize it for you. Today, I'm going to be telling you without filters how I lost one of my kids in the Darien Gap. It took me a little bit to make a decision as to whether or not do the story time, but I feel like I owe this to my audience. One of my videos where I was explaining to you guys how one of my kids didn't make it. Well, he did make it out of the jungle, but he did not survive, was taken down. Now, before I start, I would like to say that we are not happy. Even though we made it to America, we are still empty, and our lives have never been the same. This is why I never encourage you to go through the jungle. We do post photos and videos, but our lives are not perfect. We are still empty. When I was 6 months pregnant, we went through the Darien Gap. I know this is our responsibility, and I get that, but we didn't have another option. Now, the reasons why we had no other option are personal, and I will not be sharing those, but we didn't have another option. That's why we decided to take on this trip, because of security reasons. When we entered the Darien Gap, everything was going well. We had about 3 days left to go, but then we had to go over a hill. And at that point, the guides left us behind, which is normal. Once we were alone, well, we only had about 2 friends, but that's about it. And I'm extremely thankful to them. But supposedly all of the paths were marked, but we took a wrong turn. Right after we realized that, we started to head back, and that's when everything happened. I fell from an altitude of around 2 meters or so. During that fall, I was stumbling with rocks and whatnot, and I was falling. Luckily, my husband was able to stop me, because honestly, I thought I was going to die. At that point, one of my other babies, who is 6 months old, and I know that you guys will criticize me for having another child so soon, but yes, my son was carrying the little one, and my daughter was next to my husband, but he still managed to get in between, and he stopped me. And God helped us, of course, because honestly, I was going so fast that I should have taken him with me and the kids too. I was coming down way too fast. But no, he was able to stop me. And that's when I started to feel pain. I was 6 months pregnant, and I believe the baby was already formed. Okay, so this was not an abortion. This was a baby that was not going to be born in a correct way. From there, we had about 1 day left to go, and I was able to walk, and I didn't really feel too much pain. I did feel sort of bad, but I made it. Then we make it to the Doctors Without Borders. That's an organization that helps migrants. So she says that at that point, I was feeling pain. They checked me out, and they said that I had about 3 dilations. And from there, they contacted their United Nations people. But to be honest, I was in a wrong place to give birth. But they said that I had 3 dilations, and they said that they had to get me out of there. And the kid, they knew the baby was not formed yet, so they needed to get me out of there so the birth would be stopped at the moment. But instead of doing that, they got us on a bus and told us to go to Costa Rica and then get to a doctor over there. Because here you have no other choice. You have to go to Costa Rica. So once we got to the border with Costa Rica, I told my husband that I couldn't do it anymore. Once we were there, I told my husband I couldn't do it anymore. I need to rest. I was exhausted. We were stressed out. And honestly, I felt like I was going to give birth. But I didn't want to tell my husband because he was very stressed out. And we were running out of money. The money was in Ecuador. We couldn't bring all of our money from Ecuador through the jungle. So we were trying to make that money. We were trying to get it transferred from Ecuador to Panama. But it was difficult because Panama was asking for passports and we didn't have them. We didn't know anyone and had no contacts. So I didn't say anything, but he paid for a hotel for us to rest. And we were honestly paying the ugliest room ever. But I was so tired and in pain. I didn't even realize that the room was so expensive, but I didn't care. We were basically sleeping on the floor, but we didn't care. I mean, I didn't care. I said, whatever, just leave me here. And this is what really affects me, what I'm about to tell you. So he went out to get, he went out to get the money that finally got transferred to us. And I told him I was not feeling well. And even when I would try to get up to get the food that he brought for us to eat, that movement caused my water to break. When he saw that, he said, let's go to the hospital. Let's get out of here. So he said, okay, hand me my underwear and let's go. In the moment when I'm changing the underwear, that's when I felt something came down. And literally, I had my child in my hands. I took her and put her on against my body. Let me calm down. So she's crying here. So she's trying to calm down. And this is the final part. She says, at the end, I felt something came down, and it was the baby. My husband went out for help. An ambulance came. The police came. They took us to the doctor. And they did exams on me and everything. And yep, I gave birth to the child. When that happened, we were in shock. Basically, we didn't have a relationship anymore. I disappeared, if you will. I didn't want to talk to my mother, to anybody. In fact, if anybody that knows me is watching, please let them know that this is the truth. This was about a year ago. I thought my relationship was over. And my children, the other children, they were like my support, especially my daughter. I saw them and I said, well, life goes on. We have to continue. Because in Costa Rica, it was hard. I honestly thought about giving up. I'm glad I overcame those things, but we continued with the journey. And that's about it for that video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, how everybody tells these migrants do not cross through the Darien Gap because it is extremely dangerous for you and your family. You are literally playing with fire. And then, I mean, this is just tragic. This is insane, guys. And people continue to come through the Darien Gap. And as far as this one goes, you would think after something like that, she wouldn't post pictures from the Darien Gap. Like it's something to be happy about or, to remember. But she still posts pictures from the journey. I mean, it's ridiculous, to tell you the truth. And then we have this picture where she is sharing the background of one of her babies. But look at the countries she said she's visited. Look at all of those countries. I think Venezuela might be missing there because the baby was born in Ecuador. But when it comes to her and her husband, you can add Venezuela to all of those countries. And remember, the husband had the idea that every country is dangerous except America. On this video, she is saying or answering the question about how is it to be detained in the US after you turned yourself in, meaning after you cross the border illegally. She says, so basically, you don't really have to do anything. You just go through the process, you have to shower, and you have to throw everything away, all of your clothing. Due to security reasons, obviously, they don't know what you have. And so basically, you'll get a different set of clothing. They don't really check you, but they just make you throw everything away. Then you shower and you get, it's like a soap that you can only use once. And then you go to your room and you have your 3 meals. You get water, you get some sort of meals, and then you get apple juice. And then, well, at least in the room where I was staying, it was cold. But that's because the cold prevents any type of viruses from spreading. That's why we call it the famous freezer. I know there are a lot of questions about unaccompanied children, she's saying. You know that it is very popular for kids to travel by themselves. Usually people from Central America, they send kids with someone, or they pay a coyote to hand their kids to immigration officials at the border. And I'll show you this video so you see what it looks like. And there is this clip from a documentary, I guess, about an immigration official providing the meals for a kid and the mothers sometimes, she says. So if the kid doesn't have Pampers, they'll provide that to the kid as well. But remember, anything you bring, they will throw it away, she says. So then she says, if you have any questions, make sure to let me know in the comment section and I'll reply via Instagram. So she's trying to get people to go to her Instagram page. And remember, these migrants are nothing without TikTok. And this is her TikTok account. A lot of followers, right? Now look at her Instagram account. Not even close. That's why these migrants love TikTok. Now, in some of her latest videos, she already gave birth and she is informing her followers about the news on the birthright citizenship topic. Here she's saying President Trump signed an executive order removing the birthright citizenship for migrant children. She says, look, something we do know is that President Trump is a man of his word. And whatever he says, he does it. So I got all of this information from Telemundo, she says. Well, from there, she proceeds to giving us the news that we already know, right? That President Trump signed that executive order. And a lot of a lot of people within the migrant community are confused and lost about this. And so she's highlighting all of this to her followers that we are still waiting for more information about this. Then she says, look, I'm not even going to give you an opinion on this because no one is asking me for one. I'm just keeping you guys informed while she's holding her newborn. Then on this one, she says that the Trump administration has been sued because of the Birthright Citizenship executive order. And again, she proceeds with providing her followers some news about this topic that she is getting from online sources. It's like she has no shame whatsoever. I mean, guys, again, if I cross the border illegally, then I am receiving, well, my child is receiving birthright citizenship. I wouldn't be anywhere online talking about anything related to it. The mathing isn't mathing on this one, putting herself on the spot. And then she gets offended. Go figure. And here she is telling her followers, what can you do if an ICE officer stops you now that we are about to experience massive immigration rates? We know these are tough times for the migrants. So I'm going to ask you if you have any good ideas or tips that you can share to a fellow migrant. When an ICE official stops you, then please let me know in the comment section. I've gathered all of this information from various online sources, and that's why I want to share it with you. I'm not an expert or anything, but I want you to know this. So you have the right to remain silent. You don't have to say anything unless you want to. So keep it shush until you have an attorney. Next, you should have all of your documents that are relevant to your case, or at least copies, right? Like your TPS approval, your work permit. And if you don't have your TPS, this is the moment. Why you don't have your documentation ready? And some of you guys just wait till the last minute and then you're running. And if you don't know where to go to start your process for your TPS or documentation, I'll tag this person right here and she can help you out. And this is the person that she tagged. So I wonder if this individual who is assisting migrants like Diana Da Silva, does she know that Diana Da Silva crossed the border illegally into the United States? Does she know that it is highly likely that Diana Da Silva doesn't have a valid asylum case based on the information she's provided to all of her followers? Does she know that? Someone please ask her for me. Anyway, so she continues providing the information to her followers. Remember, I think probably all of her followers are migrants. No American would be watching this nonsense. So she says, ICE can even check your phone. So make sure you have stuff in your phone that you are in the middle of a process. So hopefully all of these tips can assist you in being freed from them. Isn't she such a sweetheart? It's not enough for her to cross the border illegally and then get birthright citizenship for her child, but also now tell migrants what to do if they get caught by ICE. I mean, this one is a true influencer, guys. She is so inspiring for all of us. Now, if you check other videos from the Birthright Citizenship Queen, you can see that she loves the freeloading. So on this one right here, she's recording people doing a line at a food bank. And she says, you know what? I'm going to do it as well. And I'll tell you all about it. So then here she's home and she says, the wait time was about 2 hours. And this is what I received. She says, if you live in New York and you need the address, or if you want to know when they open, just let me know in the comment section and tell me what you think about this. In other words, she is telling her followers that she will provide all of the information for them to go and do the same thing. But again, she's doing nothing wrong, right? This is completely okay. And well, she's just showing all of the food that she received from the food bank for her and her family. This reminds me of Late Trash. You guys remember Late Trash, right? It's very similar, the type of content that he was making about receiving benefits. But there she is. I mean, she just went through all of those products. I don't really need to go over them, but you get the idea. She is really good at receiving benefits from anywhere. And not only that, she likes to share the wealth with her followers, with her migrant followers. Then we have this other clip where she is explaining how Operation Santa works. This is a program by USPS. I didn't even know this thing existed until I watched her video. But I guess when it comes to freeloading, you can learn a lot from some of these migrants. Anyway, so she is explaining the process, how the kids have to write their letters and where to send them and whatnot for USPS to help you receive some of those gifts. She actually read through some of those letters where she is asking for toys and clothing, and well, you get the idea. And that's Diana Da Silva for you guys, the good mother, the influencer, the Birthright Citizenship queen. But again, she's never done anything wrong. Nothing at all, guys. But let's move on into the current events. So President Trump visited North Carolina and signed a new executive order.
Pleased to announce that under our leadership, the federal government will be surging housing solutions to the state that go beyond mere temporary hotel stays that ended up being very short term. The government wouldn't do it any longer, which is ridiculous. We'll marshal all available resources and bring back potable water and make your water and infrastructure dramatically more reliable very quickly. Today, I'll also be signing an executive order slashing all red tape and bureaucratic barriers and permits to ensure the rapid reconstruction of the roads here in western North Carolina. We're going to go through a permitting process that's called no permitting, just get it done. That's the way they built them many years ago, I guarantee you that, right?
I wonder why Biden didn't do that. And then he went to California, where he made Gavin Newsom wait for about 10 minutes before getting off Air Force One. He also spoke to many victims in both North Carolina and California. And then he had this one-on-one exchange with LA Mayor Karen Bass.
Expediting. So I signed executive directives right away so that we could cut the red tape. We could get people back building as fast as possible. And we're going to continue doing that.
Yeah, the one thing is they are saying they will not be allowed to start for 18 months.
No, that will not be the case.
Okay, I just hope
That
you're
will
right.
not, you can hold me to it.
There's 4 groups said that.
No,
That would be, they should
No,
be able
that-
to do it. They should be able to start tonight.
that will not be the case. You know, first we have to take care to make sure that there's not getting rid of the hazardous waste, cleaning things up so that people can start right away. And just like you said, if somebody had their house was destroyed and they're going to rebuild essentially the same, maybe a little bit longer, a little bit higher, they really shouldn't have to go through much of a process. So I want you to know that we are expediting that. We absolutely need your help. We need the federal help. You're a
You got
builder.
it. I told you, you will have no permit problem. There will be zero delay. And as far as I'm concerned, you already have the permits.
And the resource.
I am more worried because I met at least 8 groups of homeowners, and I'm much more worried about the fact that they said it's 18 months exactly, and they were devastated. They want to start now. They want to start removing things. They're not allowed to do it now. And you mentioned hazardous waste. Well, the hazardous waste. What's hazardous waste? I mean, you're going to have to define that. We're going to go through a whole series of questions on determining what's hazardous.
Nope.
I just think you have to allow the people to go on their site and start the process tonight.
And we will.
Okay, good.
You can come back and check.
It's very
Mr. President?
Oh, but there's more.
6 months is
Exactly.
no good.
And the number one thing that we are going to do immediately, and you will see this happen, is to clear out the debris. And we're concerned right now over the weekend because of the potential rain, but we are going to move as fast as we can, but we want you to be safe. And we want you to be back in your homes immediately.
But the people are willing to clean out their own debris. It doesn't
Yes,
cost
and
a
they
lot.
can,
You
and
should
they are
let them
able
do
to-
it because
No,
by the
they
time you
can do
hire
that.
contractors, it's
Right.
going to be 2 years.
If a family.
People are willing to get a dumpster and do it themselves and clean it out.
And they can
There's
do
not that much left. It's all incinerated.
That's right.
And, it's just going to take a long time if you do. You can do some of it, but a lot of these people, I know that guy right there that's talking. I know my people. You'll be on that thing tonight, throwing the stuff away, and your site it'll look perfect within 24 hours. And that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to wait around for 7 months till the city hires some demolition contract
If
that's going to
individuals
charge him
want to build-
$25,000 to do his lot. I think you have emergency powers just like I do, and I'm exercising my emergency powers. You have to exercise them also.
I did exercise them.
Because I looked,
signed
I
an
mean, you have a
emergency
very powerful
declaration.
emergency power, and you
Yes.
can do everything within 24 hours.
Yes. And if individuals want to clear out their property, they can. Well, yes, but you know that you will be able to go back soon.
Mr. President.
We think within a week.
That's a long time, a week. I'll be honest. To me, everyone's standing in front of their house. They want to go to work, and they're not allowed to do it.
And the most
a
important
week
thing
is
is
a
for
long
people to
time.
be safe.
They're safe. They're safe. You know what? They're not safe. They're not safe now. They're going to be much safer. A week is actually a long time, the way I look at it. I watched hundreds of people standing in front of their lots, and they're not allowed to go in. It's all burned. It's gone. It's done. Nothing's going to happen to it. It's not going to burn anymore. There's nothing to burn. There's almost nothing to burn. And they want to go in. The people are all over the place. They're standing. And I say, why aren't you going in? We're trying to get a permit. And the permit's going to take them. Everybody said 18 months. You said 18 months. You said 18 months.
Last night.
And that was last night.
On that. Right.
Mr. President, we're going to be together next week, and
This is so refreshing to watch. Finally, someone is calling out all of these inefficient politicians. Moreover, 1,500 troops have arrived at the southern border.
This morning, the first 1,500 U.S. troops are arriving at the southern border as President Donald Trump launches his long-promised crackdown on immigration. The active duty Army soldiers and Marines deployed to address what Trump declared is a national emergency. The Pentagon says the troops include military police units, combat engineers, and intelligence specialists who will aid with detection and monitoring. The military will also help construct new barriers along the border and provide air power for deportations. A senior defense official saying, "This is just the start. We are anticipating many further missions."
Check out these clips of the U.S. Marines arriving at the border with Mexico. Game's over. And then we have Mr. I'm not going back to Haiti.
I'm not going back to Haiti.
One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
Trump, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
ICE Boston quickly takes down its next targets, including this illegal alien from Brazil who has an Interpol red notice for armed robbery. This Salvadoran illegal alien charged locally with rape and released by a sanctuary jurisdiction.
Señor, ¿cómo se llama?
And this Dominican illegal alien charged with assault with a deadly weapon and heroin trafficking. Officers also arrested this Guatemalan MS-13 gang member facing gun charges. ICE says he was released from local custody just the day before. Their detainer request was ignored because of sanctuary policies. And in a sign of shifting priorities with the new Trump administration, this man, who was in the same apartment as the target, was also arrested after ICE determined he's also in the U.S. illegally. This is what ICE calls collateral.
The amount of guts to say something like that. But probably that's another one that didn't do anything wrong. I mean, all of these migrants think that because Joe Biden gave them the entry and now they have all of these social securities and work permits, that they are completely legal. And this has encouraged their entitlement mentality to the point where they're making legal threats and other threats to people who call them out. And that brings me to my major announcement, which is, in essence, breaking news as well. These two documents that are on the screen are crucial. You see, President Trump granted new authorities to the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, to expedite the deportation of immigrants who entered the country under the humanitarian parole and CBP-1 programs implemented during Joe Biden's administration. An internal memo from the Department of Homeland Security, revealed by the New York Times, indicates that this measure aims to strengthen immigration control policies and tighten restrictions for those who entered the United States through these initiatives. The document, signed on Thursday by Benjamin C. Huffman, acting head of the DHS, instructs ICE officials to use expanded powers to deport beneficiaries of these programs, even if they meet the conditions set by Biden's immigration policies. This decision affects more than 1.46 million people who entered the country with temporary permits since January 2023. Therefore, migrants, basically what President Trump is saying is that if you enter the country under Joe Biden's disastrous immigration policies, you are in essence an illegal. So all of your work permits, TPS, Social Securities, as you can see right there from the memo, you are subject to further investigation. As a result, I hereby announce that the Vega Axis channel has a new zero tolerance policy for all of these migrants that continue to abuse the system. When you guys are being investigated and you are talking to other migrants, they will be investigated as well, which means they will be subjected to being reported to USCIS officials. You guys want to play games and make threats, mass report my accounts, when you know I have so much information on you. Well, okay, let's do it. Let's play the game. Guys, thank you for watching. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And a very special thanks to the supporters of this channel that go the extra mile. The shoutouts are in the description of this video. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.